Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about the difference between bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. So let's get to it. I've heard from a lot of you that you had questions about what the difference was between bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder, and I'm here to tell you about it. So I have a bunch of notes and I have my DSM on my lap, so if you see me looking down and around, it's because I'm double checking myself. In a nutshell, the difference between bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder are that borderline personality disorder, as with all personality disorders, it's a pattern of behavior that goes on for a long period of time. Bipolar is more labile mood focused, so things are going up and down, and I will get into a little more detail as we move through this. I also think it's super important to note that BPD commonly co-occurs with depressive disorders and bipolar disorders. Therefore, if both criteria are met, you can get the diagnosis for both. Yes, there are going to be differences that I'll point out, but know that if you suffer from both, that is completely normal and it's something that's actually very common. And if you want more information about borderline personality disorder, click over here. I'll have this open in a new tab so you can watch it after this video. And if you want more on bipolar disorder, click over here. This will be a short playlist because there are a bunch of variations within bipolar disorder, whether it's 1 or 2 or cyclothymic. There's a lot of things to talk about. But that will also open in a new tab so you can save that playlist and watch that later. The main difference between bipolar disorder and BPD is that bipolar disorder is episodic, meaning it comes and goes. We'll have a couple weeks of depression maybe and a week of mania. We may have hypomania and then depression or dysthymia. We may come and go on kind of that, graph that I drew on the whiteboard when I talked about bipolar disorder all those many moons ago. We kind of go up and down. It's very episodic. BPD, on the other hand, doesn't come and go. It's present, and they talk about being pervasive, that it's consistent, it's palpable, it's all the time. And there's also a caveat in the BPD diagnostic criteria stating that it must not be diagnosed during an untreated mood episode. So therefore, if you do struggle with bipolar disorder, if you're not getting help or treatment and you're manic, BPD cannot be diagnosed during that time. Now, I assume that it can't be diagnosed during that time because it's really difficult to tell what symptoms are coming from what. And so once everything is being treated and you're getting help, then we can see where the symptoms lie and what proper diagnosis may need to be given. These two diagnoses do often get confused with one another because they have a lot of symptomatic overlap, especially when it comes to mood lability and impulsivity. And just as a reminder, I'm going to read a little bit about what borderline personality disorder is, and while I talk about this, I'm going to talk about how it differentiates itself from bipolar disorder. So it starts out by saying a pervasive pattern of instability in interpersonal relationships, self-image, and affects and marked impulsivity, beginning in early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts. It talks about issues with imagined or real abandonment. And if we remember, with regard to bipolar disorder, it talks about having a mania and a manic episode to be diagnosed with bipolar 1, that meaning we have inflated self-esteem and grandiosity, which we don't see in BPD. Flight of ideas, being more talkative, those are not symptoms associated with BPD. Also, with a major depressive episode, markedly diminished pleasure or interest in things, depressed mood most of the day, every day, you can see how these two diagnoses can overlap with regard to mood lability and impulsivity. But when you really start to look at the symptoms, and I would encourage you to rewatch my videos on borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder, you can see actually how very different they are. Bipolar disorder, I think it's really important just to note that it's episodic. There are episodes, they come and go, maybe week, 2 weeks at a time. Borderline personality disorder is pervasive. There are no breaks. It doesn't come and go. It stays. And so I think if you are concerned whether your diagnosis is correct, notice whether you think it comes and goes. Do you have episodes? Obviously, everything can be worse during triggering environments and better when maybe we're not stressed out and nothing's triggering. But overall, do you feel like it's pervasive? It's there all the time. It's somewhat of a regular level? Or do you feel like you kind of go up and down, feeling really excited and really energized, and then feeling like total shit and feeling really depressed? Is it like that, or is it constant and impulsivity can happen at any time? Because in my mind, that's how I differentiate bipolar disorder versus borderline personality disorder. And I hope that that helps. I know that there are a lot of things that could be confusing with the DSM. And honestly, that's why I don't encourage any of you to purchase it. It's not something that's really helpful for those of us who are struggling with mental illness. It's only something that's needed if you're a clinician and you have to diagnose people. And I think it's very limiting. I don't think the DSM is the end all be all. I know I've said that a million times, but there are a lot of things that's missing. There are a lot of things that are confusing. And so I hope that this video helps kind of sort that out. And if you have experience figuring out which one was you, or if you're diagnosed with both, can you leave it in the comments below? Because that's the great thing about our community, is that together we learn more through each other's experience. I'm just telling you what I've seen, what I've read, and what I know. That doesn't mean that your experience is going to be the exact same. And the more we share, the better. And if you want more information on stuff like this, click over here. If you're new to my channel or you're old and you haven't subscribed, click over here to subscribe. And if you wonder what I'm up to in my daily life, click all along here. I post all sorts of weird shit all the time and you don't want to miss it. And I'll see you next time. I also think it's important. It's important, super important, so much so that I can't say it properly. With depressive, okay, sorry. I was like, wait, how do I want to say that? Okay.